Hello. Today we've got an agenda. Maybe I'll put it on the screen. The books I've read, school, and I'm looking for recommendations of books. Yeah, maybe they'll intertwine, but I've recently started school, so I feel like I've had less time to read. And the things that I do want to read, I start to read them and get like my brain's too fried. So that relates to the recommendations, but I guess I'm getting out of order. The books I've read in August: one, Jade Visions. I really enjoyed this book. It's totally random, but it's one of the leading, or kind of like, I guess, an avant-garde jazz bassist before people were playing the jazz bass in a certain way. He played it in a more melodic fashion, but that's getting into the weeds. I think anybody could enjoy this book just because if you see it as a person and their craft, the same way people can find connection with Whiplash, even though they're not professional drummers. And then another thing that touched me in the book was that it's written by his sister. So this jazz bassist was, in a very short period of time, blew up and changing how people played acoustic standing basses. And then when he was 25, he died in a car accident. So his career got cut very short. But in that time, he was practicing. He only played the bass for like 7 years. He'd practice for however many hours a day. And yeah, that was a big tangent from what I was saying, which is that it's written by his sister. So a lot of the book is just saying how great he is, but it was touching that a sister would do all of this research and reach out all these people and publish an entire book just to show her love for her dead brother. So for that reason, I liked it. I actually gave it 5 stars. It's not like the writing was spectacular, but it's kind of one of those books where it finds you at the right time, and therefore it could get so many stars. Okay, then I read The Lies of Lamora by Scott Lynch, Little Thickiana. I haven't read a fantasy book, I think, since Name of the Wind, which I like, the Kingkiller Chronicles. I read that maybe in high school. And I used to read fantasy when I was younger. But then I sort of fell out of it. I find that a lot of time the writing isn't very good in fantasy, which is pretty whatever. I'm a snob, especially when it comes to writing. So I don't know, I can't help it. This book, the writing isn't anything special. I found it to be a pretty straightforward book. Having said that, I enjoyed it in the same way that I enjoy like reality television. I have a hard time doing things that are easy and for entertainment when I feel like my time could be better spent reading some lit fic book or whatever. But yeah, the book is a trilogy. I read the first one. It was good. I haven't read the second one. It didn't speak to me that much in any deep way. It was just a quick, fun read. Yeah, I don't know. Do you care to hear about the plot? I don't know. There's a kid who's really good at stealing. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty accurate. There's a kid who's good at stealing. And then someone comes along to mess with his stealing plans. And then I just read this Paradais? Paradais? I don't know. I took a few years of Spanish, but this one escapes me. I got it from the library. I don't know the last time I got a book from the library, but that was fun. I actually got a library card. I'm glad I did get it from the library because it was not that good. I'm a negative Nancy. I can't help it. Well, no, I said good things about Jade Visions. Anyways, it was described as a macabre? Is that how you say it? I don't know. macabre scheme between these two boys. One's addicted to porn, and the other one wants to get away from his narco-controlled village. And the abstract said something like it's a torrent of prose, and it's only like 110 pages. And that caught my attention. I like when people mess with the structure, mess with structure for some artistic purpose, and maybe use words that really, I'm thinking of like Cormac McCarthy. Like his books, right when you start reading his books, it's just like this dark cloud comes over you just by his word choice. So I was hoping for something like that. But a torrent of prose actually just means that there aren't paragraph indentations. And like Dostoevsky did it and it was cool, but this was like, there was no reason for there not to be paragraph indentations. The author wasn't choosing words that like came across fast or making sentences so that they felt like they were quick. They just didn't put in paragraphs. Okay. Jung, Memories, Dreams, and Reflections. I got this from Big Nate's Book Reviews channel. Like he recommended it. I think he gave it 5 stars, and maybe it won one of his like shootouts that he does. I can't remember. But I'm interested in psychoanalysis, so this seemed cool. And the first, maybe third of it really got me. Like I found it very interesting and I sort of flew through it because it's his early life and then his school years and then his years at college and becoming a doctor. So it was interesting to hear how a great mind goes through those stages, just like what it looks like for someone who was so pioneering in the field of psychoanalysis to psychoanalyze himself through these years, which in the beginning, in the foreword, he talks about how, or the guy who wrote the book for him spoke about how hesitant Jung was to publish this. But then it got into his interactions with Freud and the work that he did relating to the unconscious. And then I kind of slowed down because some of his stuff, it's like you really need a foundation in, like a serious foundation in psychology for the terminology that he uses. At least that's how I feel. For it to not seem just like totally woo-woo stuff. I mean, some of it is. Some of it is a leap of faith, the same way religion is, where he's just postulating what the significance of the unconscious. Anyways, it's interesting. I'm halfway through, and I'm having a hard time finishing it. Okay. I guess now to school. This is the type of shit that I'm have to read. Moral Theory and Introduction. Where he just like goes through these moral theories. So I've read, and I've had to do like close readings of them. Consequentialism, all the different types of utilitarianism, and then more recently, natural law theory. And I find it all very interesting. I find ethics very interesting. But when you really have to stretch your brain to read and deeply, like, critically interact with the text, once I am actually sitting down to read for fun, it's like I just don't feel like it. So I've gone through so many different books recently, trying to find something where I flip the first page and I'm like, all right, this is cool. Maybe naively, I tried The Count of Monte Cristo, and it's just like too involved and too long for me to work on. I don't know. And then none of these don't logically follow each other, that whatever, the type of stuff that I've been picking up and putting down. The Portrait of an Artist as a Young Man, that was my another attempt after Count of Monte Cristo. And this I can see myself getting through very slowly, but it's still not what I'm looking for, which leads, I guess, to the next part of our agenda, my agenda, which is to ask for recommendations, assuming that people who have subscribed have similar interest to me. But even then, I'm kind of looking outside of my scope, which would be, I think, a romance book would be interesting and easy to read. Like Wuthering Heights or something, not like smut. Something that is substantive, but not like Anna Karenina, where it's requires a lot of brain power, if that's even possible to be asked. And then, I don't know, maybe a fantasy book. Those are usually easy to get through. I have The Way of Kings somewhere, but these big slob books, I'm not really feeling. I don't know, maybe if you could recommend a book that you flew through that could get me out of this sort of slump, because I am reading all the time, but it's for school. And then the last part of my agenda, well, I don't know where this slots into my agenda, but in the quest to read more, I got a flip phone. I've been made fun of incessantly for it, but it's super sick. I'm hoping that it'll get me to read more. And I have been. Like, I read before class because I can't scroll. I read during breakfast because I can't scroll. I read while I'm cooking because I can't scroll. Yeah. I don't know why. Maybe, why am I talking about this? I don't know. Is it because I have a deep egoistic need to share that I have a flip phone? Could be. Maybe I'll cut out that I have a flip phone. Anyways, my idea is that I'll read more with this. That's TBD. I'll be back with another video eventually when I have something to talk about. See ya.